unwitting pawns for enlightened
Mhm.
centrism. Yes.
Yeah, so the problem with this criticism, and it's a stupid criticism, Paul, is that I agree with you on the destiny front, that he does push people towards centrism because he is attacking far leftists
Yes.
from a center view. However, I'm still attacking on the right leftist right wingers and moving them further right, not moving them towards the center at all.
Well, I would say the red pill degenerates, like who's the Wes Watson or whatever, the guy on stage. I was doing research for the video and then I saw that.
He's a progressive
clip.
degenerate.
That's what I'm saying. So you're fighting back against progressives, moving them
to the right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, but he's not a class. Surely he's not a progressive in the destiny sense.
No,
he's sort of
more,
this weird.
He's more of a right wing
progressive,
what I would call right wing progressive. So if I destroy his ideology, I'm moving him right. I'm not moving him to the center.
Well, I would say moving from hedonism, pure unabashed hedonism, to something that approximates Christianity in whatever form, cultural,
would be further right,
ecclesiastical. Well, I would say that's bringing but I'm right in that regard.
So Destiny is sitting in a centrist position like you are. He's a centrist leftist.
No, Destiny's a progressive degenerate.
He's a center leftist.
I will. Okay.
Yeah, he's a center leftist. So he's attacking people further left than him to bring them back to the center. I concede that that's true. However, I'm attacking center rightist because I'm a far rightist, meaning I'm moving them further to the right.
That's fair. I guess I view it sort of horseshoe theory, where you have the enlightened center, you have the right and the left, and then on the either ends you have extreme degeneracy. So Destiny's attacking the extreme degenerates, not degenerates. He's attacking the people on the far left. He's not capable of attacking degenerates.
Yeah, because he's a fucking degenerate.
As I said, he himself is a degenerate. But then you are addressing the hedonistic degeneracy on the right and pulling them back towards
to the right.
Well, you call it right, center, whatever. Okay, I get your
it's
point.
Not going to the center. It's going to the right.
Okay, well,
right?
You're right.
So
you're right.
Well, it's not my right. Here, I'm going to prove this to you.
Is. Okay.
You would consider Christian populism or Christian nationalism right now to be the ideology of the far right wing, correct?
Depending on the strain. I could be a Christian nationalist depending on how you define it. If it's fundamentalist, if it's literalist, then it's problematic. I use Christian nationalism. I would not call myself a Christian nationalist. Not right now. Not until it becomes mainstream, and then I can hijack it for my own enlightened centrist purposes.
Your video is
Christian nationalism. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's good now. It looks like it caught up. Your video always does that, though.
Oh, okay. You're good on my end.
Yeah. I'm always good on everybody's end.
Okay. Well, as you know, I don't have a great relationship with Mossad. So, where did I get cut off on?
Oh, we were talking about Christian nationalism. So you would consider that to be a far right ideology, at least whatever my
for now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I'm pushing people towards that, I'm pushing them towards the right, not towards the center. So you were wrong in your ending analysis.
No, but
your comparison.
Yeah, but I think pushing people away from hedonism is not necessarily pushing them towards Christian nationalism. I think you're laying the groundwork to stop the degenerate red pillars from saying, "We'll just fuck 50 women and never get married."
Destiny would be laying the groundwork that that's fine. Moving.
Yeah, he's a degenerate.
But he's moving them towards the center by your own admission.
No.
Yeah, that's the criticism, Paul. The criticism is they're both unwitting pawns in enlightened centrism because he's attacking the fringes of the left, while Andrew is attacking more of the people who are towards the center of the right.
So it depends on the issue. And I'm sure you would agree with Destiny when Destiny calls the tankies and the far left super fucking woke people insane and pathetic. And he doesn't use the word degenerate because he's degenerate. Or maybe he does, but he doesn't really use it appropriately. So pushing back against the far left is good. And Destiny does do that. You are no friend of the far left.
Okay, right? And here's who I push back against. The far left, right? Yeah. The not so far left, the center left, the not so far right, the center right, and everything that is not my ideology, which is the furthest right wing that it can possibly go.
Maybe,
and that's what I push people towards, right?
It depends on the issue. I think let's go into the specific issues, because what we call right and left is relative by definition. But is there a specific issue?
Yeah, well, that's a criticism.
Okay, fair enough. I accept that criticism. That's fair.
Yeah. So you were wrong there, right?
Well,
and Yeah, you were wrong. There's no way, because we don't. And here's why. Here's why you were wrong. You didn't think about it. You didn't think about the starting position. You thought of me and Destiny as both being in the center first. And so we're attacking the fringe elements of
I don't
our
consider
own.
you in the center.
Right. That was the problem with the criticism. The problem with the criticism was that when you compared me to Destiny, he's a center leftist. I am not a center rightist.
Okay, fair enough. The point that I was making fundamentally is that even the point I was making, I said it explicitly, is a lot of people think you're an intolerable asshole, and that's obviously the case. You are an intolerable asshole. That's why you're so successful, and that's why we get along.
Mhm.
And people who would write you off should understand, like, oh well, this guy is just calling people names and all this shit, which you do call people names.
Not really. I don't really call people names.
All right, fair enough. You say questionable things, but
I hurt people's feelings, but I don't usually call them names.
fair enough. And hurting people's feelings is not always the right thing. But the point is, what people need to understand is you are pushing back against degeneracy in right-wing spheres, and I would consider
and that's pushing them farther
that's
right.
My point.
Right?
I consider whether or not you are part of the enlightened center, I consider that action. I consider anyone who pushes back against degeneracy on any side of the political spectrum
to be moving people to the right,
to moving people to my enlightened center. But whatever, it's definitional. What is
but I mean, the semantics matter.
Okay, fair enough. Fine, I will allow you.
I need a concession here, Paul.
You need. I like the days when you and I could just have a conversation. It wasn't a debate.
We're not really debating. I feel like we're having a conversation.
You said I need a concession from you, Paul.
You can't make a video criticizing, like, with tons of criticisms, and then when you bring the person on who you criticize, like if I'm demonstrating that you're wrong, you're gonna have to eat it. You're gonna have to own it.
For the reason I just said, the point I was making is that anyone who pushes back against hedonistic degeneracy is doing good work. That was my point. Now,
because if they're on the left pushing back against it, they're moving towards the center, right?
Well, but see, I just wait.
So they're moving right. So that would be moving them right. So if they're pushing back against degeneracy, they're moving them right, Paul.
Yes, but if they're on the left, going to the right brings you back to the center.
That's true for a leftist, but if for Destiny's position, that would be true. I've conceded that, but for my position, it couldn't be true.
Destiny's not doing that with the degeneracy because he's a degenerate. He's encouraging the degeneracy.
Right, because the people he's going after are so bad that even destroying their ideology, even if they could continue with the degeneracy, happens to still push them back to the right. They're that much worse than Destiny is. But in my case, right, I start on the far right. I'm hitting left. So if I'm destroying the worldview left, then I'm moving them right. He's starting in the center, moving them towards the center. So I concede the one end is true.
You know what, Andrew? Because I think this is utterly semantic, I will concede this to you. How about that?
Okay, well, I don't think it's semantic, but
let me give a qualified concession. We'll see if that satisfies you. There's more interesting criticisms that I think we can get into.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree. But we're just gonna I'm gonna go. Go through it with the least first. Okay, so the next is you really fucked up in the video. You claim, and you can pull this up, you have your own timestamps on the video. It should be pretty easy to find. You claim that I claimed that Lauren Chen and Roman Catholics were heretics. I, in fact, never made that claim.
You said schismatic, right?
Yeah, you totally made that up. Yeah, yep.
I believe it's...
Yeah, play the video.
It's right here.
As far as we're concerned.
Can you hear it? Just got to hand it to Andrew for this... to critique your worldview. Let's get back to the discussion. Well, I think it's... In any case, the most Christian worldview, interpretation... Yeah. As an outside observer, how do I know which church authority's interpretation of the Bible is correct? The most obvious manifestation of this inherent problem is how, as Andrew points out, the Eastern Orthodox Church regards the entire Catholic Church as heretical.
The Eastern Orthodox recognize that the Catholic Church are schismatic. In fact, the Catholic Church will allow us to go in and take their sacraments, but they are not allowed to come into our churches and take our sacraments because they are schismatic, because they have a broken tradition when they yielded to papal authority, which is exactly what happened during the schism. So no, I would tend to agree with you that Catholics are schismatic, and all of you are schismatics as far as we're concerned.
And you just got... Okay.
Now PF.
Yeah.
Did I ever make the claim that they were heretics?
You said they were schismatic.
Yeah, did I ever make the claim, PF, that they were heretics?
Apparently not. No.
Okay, so who
What does
made
it
the
mean to
claim?
be schismatic?
It just means to not be with the body of the church.
Okay, because I actually
That's not a heresy.
Well, I'd have to pull up the quote again that I looked up prior, but I believe one church father or another said there is no such thing as being schismatic without being heretical.
That's
Every
nice.
schism is a function.
It doesn't
of a heresy.
matter. It doesn't matter. We have it, even if singular church fathers or singular saints make statements, it does not necessarily reflect official church doctrine.
Okay, so
hang on.
fair enough. Okay,
But even if it did, even if they did have the official position that they were heretics, Paul, I did not say that they were heretics, did I?
No, you did not. You said they were
so. You
schismatic.
made that shit up, didn't you,
Spread
Paul?
misinformation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Well,
lied through your fucking teeth.
I didn't
Paul.
lie. Well, okay,
you lied
through
your fucking teeth,
yeah.
Paul.
Lied. Okay, then let me ask you, what is the difference between being schismatic and being heretical? Because when I looked it up, because exactly to your point, I looked to see, and that's why I'm quoting the church father who said there's no such thing as a schism without a heresy. So they were synonymous.
But Paul, before we do that, can I ask you a question? Why did you say that I claimed that they were heretics, that everyone who wasn't an Eastern Orthodox heretic, when I said over and over in the very next clip you played that they were schismatics? How did you fuck that up, Paul?
Because I assume that most people.
Oh, you assumed.
You haven't even got.
Oh.
All right, Mom. As Sue makes an ass out of you and me. Fair enough. And first off, it was not out of dishonesty. Otherwise, I wouldn't have played the clip of you saying that. So clearly, heretical and schismatic, I assume, are synonymous. And I'd like to hear from you why they're different. And the other thing too is I don't think the average person knows what schismatic means. They know what heretical means. Now, if they are not synonymous, as you're about to prove to me, then fair enough. That was a mistake. Because, but I believe they are quite similar enough.
Yeah, here's why.
Okay.
You could be practicing doctrine which is not heretical, but be doing it outside of the church body, which would make you a schismatic. It would make you not part of the church body. That's bad. But it would not necessarily mean that you're spreading heresy.
Okay, what?
So like a secularist, for instance, a secularist could explain how a sacrament worked, right?
Yeah.
Would that be?
What do you mean?
So let's say the Eucharist. He just explained the process for taking the Eucharist. A secularist did. Okay. Well, there's nothing heretical about that. He's not a heretic. He's not. Now, if he was corrected, on no, that's not how that works, and then he continued to spread the misinformation, that would be heretical. However, because he's an atheist, he's immediately a schismatic.
Okay, so is it bad to be schismatic? Is it worse to be schismatic than, or excuse me, so heresy is worse than being schismatic?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so you do not believe.
We don't consider that. I don't consider that all Catholics, branches exit Orthodox are heretics. I don't believe that they are.
Do you consider the Catholic Church heretical?
I think that there are some things the Catholic Church does which are heretical, but they are not heretics.
Okay, but you do believe they're schismatic, and you do believe a central part of their ideology is heretical.
Well, yeah, I think that the Pope that would be considered a heresy, I would say.
The existence of the Pope.
Following the Pope. But there are Catholics who do not follow the Pope.
Really? What kind of Catholics don't follow the Pope?
I think they're called Sedevacantist or something. I don't remember what they're called.
Okay. This seems like an exception. Most Catholics follow the Pope, yes?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I'm just telling you they're different words. So, but even if I were to grant to you, though, that again, they're all heretics. We consider all of them to be heretical. I did not ever claim that they were. I only claim that they were schismatics.
Once again, fair enough. Once again, a important semantic concession I must make to you. I did say that Andrew said this word, and he did say a different word. Now, my defense, that I think is quite valid now, is that they're basically the same. When you say the Pope is heretical, following the Pope is a form of heresy.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me, there's no difference between that and saying, well, the Catholic Church.
Yeah, but I can't say that all Catholics are heretics necessarily. But I can say, I
Speaking
can't
for the
say,
rule,
in
not
other
the
words,
exception.
here's the distinction. Yeah, but the exception makes the rule. That's the point. So if there are exceptions, I can't make that rule like this, Paul.
Mhm.
I can say with confidence that all people who are not part of the body of the Orthodox Church are schismatics. I can say that 100% with all certainty that they are schismatics. But I could not say with all certainty that they're all heretics.
Okay, fair enough. Are Protestants heretics?
I mean, I think that there's many of them that are heretics. However, it could be possible, for instance, that you stop practicing the Orthodox faith in some way, and you break off from the church. There are schismatics who break off from the church who maintain all of the same sacraments. They're not considered by the clergy to be heretical. They're considered by the clergy to be schismatic.
Okay,
The
fair enough.
Catholics, for instance,
Fine.
consider us to be schismatic, but do not consider us to be
Yeah,
heretics.
that right. And you've pointed out the Eastern Orthodox Church will let Catholics have communion, but it's not the other way around. Or excuse me. Yeah, the
Mhm.
Catholics will let the Eastern Orthodox have communions. Okay, so I get there's a different imbalance there.
So
But
I
my
would agree
point-
that most of them are fucking heretics, right?
Okay,
But
well, all right. Well, there we
it
go.
doesn't.
Fine.
But it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. These words matter in theology, man. They matter when you're giving a worldview.
Sure, but the reason I said this is to point out that, well, so if you don't think the Catholic Church are heretical, I guess what's wrong? Let me ask you a question. What's wrong with being schismatic? Is being schismatic bad?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Eastern Orthodox Church thinks the Catholic faith is doing something fundamentally bad.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the point I was making. Because
yeah, I mean, maybe, but here's the thing. What it does is it gives a poor reflection on me because it makes it sound like I am saying something which I'm not saying. It makes it sound so. Try to remember that everything in an argument is done through the filter and the prism of a worldview. If inside of the worldview I'm giving incorrect theology, meaning I'm saying everyone who's not an Orthodox is a heretic, which runs counter to the teachings of the Orthodox Church, that reflects poorly on me.
I see.
And I never said that.
Fair enough. And
right?
Yeah, and let me be very clear, Andrew. As you know, my goal was not to create a hit piece. My goal was not to get you in trouble with the Eastern Orthodox Church. Okay. And the fact that I pulled up the clip was evidence of me proving myself to not use the term, proving that you did not use the term that I said you used. So that was not my intent, obviously. But the point I was making is fundamentally the same, which is, and this gets to maybe the broader issue, is your criticism of cultural Christianity or Protestantism more broadly.
Hang on. We'll get to that. I got other minor criticisms I want to go through.
Okay.
Before we get to the major one.
Fair enough.
Because that one's going to be the one that's the most drawn out, I assure you. But
let's do it.
I didn't think that you did this to hurt me. Right. I'm just explaining to you that whether you intended to or not, right, I do not want to be or I don't want to be seen in a light of having said or made this declarative statement, which is contrary to the teachings of the church, if I didn't say it. Hold me responsible, in other words, for what I did say. That's all I'm asking.
All right, fair enough. That's a more than reasonable request to make. Mm-hmm. What's the next criticism?
Okay. So hang on. You claim that I evaded Chen in her cross criticism.
Yeah, here I've got it already queued up. I think it's the next thing. This one I knew would get under your skin. This is why I did it, Andrew. Gotta hand it to Andrew for this brilliant rhetorical evasion right here.
But absent getting into a deep theological debate, back to the discussion at hand, when we're discussing the red pill.
In other words, absent getting into the deep theological part of the debate that reveals that I have the exact same flaw in my worldview that I'm beating you over the head with to critique your worldview, let's get back to the discussion about the red pill. Brilliant rhetorical evasion on your part, Andrew.
Yeah, but there was no rhetorical evasion. So this is the problem by showing this out of context. I was not there to discuss Christianity at all. In fact, I tried to avoid it most of the discussion. I was there to discuss with Lauren Chen her views on marriage and the red pill. She brought up Christianity and was trying to make the claim that Pearl was being contrary to Catholic beliefs, her Catholic beliefs, and was doing some kind of degenerate shit. That was the segue into that. all I did was bring it back. That's it. I just brought it back. Otherwise, we would be mired in that for the entirety of the conversation.
Okay. I don't believe that you can discuss anything without appealing to your fundamental Christian worldview. So when you say I wasn't there to talk about Christianity, that's like saying I wasn't there to talk about the fundamental moral basis of my worldview.
Well,
So
I disagree. I
that
think that I have conversations where I don't appeal to Christianity at all, and debates all the time where I do not. However, other people bring this up often. And so they want to get me into that quagmire. And if they do, that's fine. But if I engage in that, it's because you fucking brought it up. That's it.
Okay. I don't see how that's so what is the critique?
So all I did was move. So what you did was you took this 20-second clip.
Yeah.
You played the 20-second clip, and then you made the claim that I was trying to be evasive in some way with Chen, though I DM'd Chen. You don't even know this, but I DM'd Chen and said that I would be open to having that deeper theological conversation with her.
Perfect.
And I've DM'd almost everybody I've ever talked to where I've had to move it along because it's such a bogged down. You're going to see yourself when we get to that part.
Oh, yeah.
Just how bogged down that would make the conversation. We would never be able to actually get to the topic at hand.
Sure, I see. My criticism is that you weren't avoiding it because it was going to be a bogged down conversation. You were avoiding it because it will reveal that you have the exact same flaw that you were beating the Protestants.
Right, which I'm going to show you that Jordan Peterson and you are wrong in that shortly.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
my
actually fair enough. Fine, but until we get to that.
Yeah, but
okay, all right. Well, until we get to that, then my criticism is.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that I did not evade anything. I just brought the conversation back.
Yeah,
like I so often.
That's why I know. And after I recorded it, I was like, I wonder if he's going to get mad at me because I said he evaded something. Because listen, if there's one thing Andrew doesn't do, it's evade someone on a debate, as evidenced by you coming here. So, but my point was you recognized that Lauren Chen was not equipped to get into a deep theological discussion, which is exactly where the discussion needed to go to be able to push back against your critiques of Protestantism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I just wanted to, give the counter critique that that was incorrect. That I'm happy to have those kinds of discussions.
That's why we're here.
But if that's not within the kind of purview of what the debate is, then I consider it to be a red herring or a diversion. And in fact, the entirety of that debate really had nothing to do ultimately with Christianity at all. The entire debate really had to do with this kind of drama that Chen had with Pearl Davis, and kind of her backdoor way of saying that I am kind of supporting the bad messaging of Pearl Davis. That's kind of what the snake of the debate was, right?
Sure. So, although you did spend almost an hour, I believe, getting into the exact criticisms you brought up or that I brought up in the video, which is, well, if you're filled with the Holy Spirit and someone else is filled with the Holy Spirit, how do you know whose interpretation is correct?
She brought this up by making the claim that non-sacramental marriage was something which we ought to be promoting. And I said, but within your framework here, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because that is not a thing which you should be promoting, which she conceded.
And I messaged you and I said, that's a great point. And to be honest, I'm more and more leaning towards that perspective in terms of like, and I don't know if you know, you've talked to James Sexton, the divorce lawyer.
Yeah,
I think he's making
a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I think he's making a lot of good points about, well, there's marriage, the religious institution, and then there's the legal institution.
Yeah, who do you think brought him onto that?
Okay, all right. I'm sure. I'll ask him the day when I get to talk to him. And
ask him.
Did Andrew Wilson bring up the point that that
we had an entire debate on it?
The legal institution of marriage has.
Oh, we had an entire debate on it. It's how we became friends.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out. I did see you guys talk.
I talk to Sexton every other day. We're good friends, like actual friends.
I think he is doing good work in bringing issues to light that were not previously there.
And luckily, I am there to assist in this, to make sure that he has the correct worldview.
What a glorious servant of enlightened centrism!
I know. I so helpful of me.
You think James Sexton would consider himself a Christian nationalist?
No.
But eventually.
No, I don't.
They all bend the knee at the end of the day.
Sexton, he's kind of low-key brilliant. And so I think ultimately for Sexton, Sexton to me is the ultimate pragmatist, and while I get the best of him often when we're debating, he gets the best of me sometimes too. Ultimately, I'm not sure how much you could ever say you sway a guy like Sexton. It's very difficult to say. I think it would take somebody far more intelligent than me to be able to discern whether or not the devil that I'm dancing with is changing me, or if the devil that I'm dancing with is being changed by me.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Base pragmatism. Okay. Do you want to get into the weeds, or is there another?
So there's one more criticism before we get into the weeds, but
Okay.
this is leading into these weeds. Okay.
Walk me through it, baby.
Okay. So I just wanted to point out that you also say in the video that you are the ultimate pragmatist, and that
I said I'm the ultimate pragmatist.
Yeah, and
I'd agree with that. I don't think I said that.
Yeah,
verbatim.
you did. You said this. Yep. Your exact words, and I'm going to read them back to you because I wrote them down.
Thank you.
You said, "I don't evaluate the validity of the Bible based on its logical coherence. I evaluate it on how well it works in the real world." Paul goes on to say, "You take your fundamentalist view, I'll take my cultural Christian view, and we'll see which things produce better outcomes in the real world."
I added some jokes there about citing Jordan Peterson that you skipped over, but yeah, essentially. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just going to the heart of the position.
That's fair.
Right. Well, the thing is,
I should get upset with you for misquoting me, just as you got upset with me for misquoting you. But that's fine. I'll leave my you got rid of the best part of that by making fun of Jordan Peterson, but that's fine. I called Jordan Peterson a Daily Wire shill in that.
But that's true. But I'm just verbatim giving you back your position. But I went on pragmatism, Paul. So I went on pragmatism. So if you were to say,
can't say that.
Yeah, I can say that, and here's how. Here's how I can say.
Is this the debate? Is this? Are we getting to the fundamental issue here?
No, the fundamental issue will be the actual criticism and how it applies to me versus fundamentalists. But this is just a quick internal critique. Remember, when you say you take your fundamentalist view and I'll take my cultural Christian view, and we'll see which things produce better outcomes in the real world. This is your evaluation metric.
Yes.
Okay, well then I win, because the things which are produced by my ideology in the real world are far superior to anything which is produced by enlightened centrism, which is nothing.
Yet.
Well, then that would be nothing.
Yet.
Yeah, well, then that would be nothing.
One might say that the seed of an oak tree is not an oak tree, and they'd be correct.
Yeah, that's right. They'd be correct, Paul.
It's not an oak tree yet.
Because it's not an oak tree
yet.
Yeah. So then the entailment of that is that I win on pragmatism and you do not. Because if you are making the evaluation,
only if you restrict your time frame to the present, but I care more about the future.
Yeah, I know, but you can't actually, unless you're saying that you're clairvoyant or you have magical powers, you cannot give me an assurance that in the future this will even produce anything even then. So all you're doing is speculating, whereas I can point right this second to the pragmatic results in culture, which come from my worldview. You cannot. And so therefore, Paul, this being your metric, and I just quoted it, I'm going to quote it again. I don't evaluate the validity based on logical coherence. You take your fundamentalist worldview. I'll take my cultural Christian worldview, and we'll see which thing produces better outcomes in the real world. Well, here's what we can see produces better outcomes in the real world. My worldview produces some outcomes. Your worldview produces no fucking outcomes. Okay. So therefore, I win.
Let me play the exact clip, because
I'm
not going to let you misquote me.
Or fundamentalist Christianity and its strict based pragmatism. You take your fundamentalist Christianity and its strict adherence to religious tradition, and I'll take my cultural Christianity that involves being forced to cite Jordan Peterson, even though he's become an absolute shill for the Daily Wire, and we'll see whose worldview produces the best consequences when you act it out in the real world. Now, on a
I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that you got my quote about Jordan Peterson being a Daily Wire shill. Okay, that was the most important thing there.
Okay, but I did get this correct. We'll see which one produces the better consequences in the real world.
We'll see. Not we see now. We'll see over time.
Yeah, but why? So what you're doing is you're selling futurism. That's not pragmatism.
I'm selling futurism.
Yeah, you're making a promise to
By
people
carry-
that in the future,
Yeah.
your ideology will be able to produce this greater outcome that you claim is coming
No,
from
I'm
it.
predicting.
Yeah, that's nice that you have a prediction, but if you're
Okay.
making the judgment based on who's actually producing outcomes, that would be my worldview, not yours. That is the opposite of pragmatism. I would be the ultimate pragmatist from your material view,
No.
as I am the one who is producing real world outcomes, whereas you are producing none.
Okay. First off, you can keep pointing out how small my YouTube channel is compared to yours. Fair enough. It doesn't offend
No,
me.
that's not what I'm saying.
Listen. I base
talking
my
about ideology, Paul. I don't
base my
care.
self-esteem on how much Reddit karma I have. Okay, not my YouTube subscribers, and what my League of Legends rank is at any given time. I knew I knew as soon as I wrote that part, I'm like, well, this is another 20-minute video now. I need to explain because, of course, that metric, saying that, and someone commented basically what you said is like, you're just evaluating the critiques, or you're evaluating the consequences. And if we look at the consequences, you get degeneracy and all this shit, and you get the Protestant preachers who talk about non-binary Jesus and all that. Yet is the fundamental operative word here. Enlightened centrism is a meme in its infancy. Okay, once it spreads,
well, then
of course
see,
it's going to succeed.
Well, then, unfortunately, you're at the same exact mercy then, because not only has my worldview pragmatically given results, but I'm gonna guarantee you that in the future it'll still be even more pragmatic than centrism.
Yeah, that's
a result. So that's still the ultimate pragmatism.
This is the game that we're playing. We're playing. Look, life is a long game. Well, it might not be if AGI keeps getting as bad as it does, but life is a long game, and I'm betting. That's why you make bets. You bet this team will win or that team will win. You can't know, but your confidence in your prediction is reflected by the bet you make. I'm betting everything that enlightened centrism, whatever that means, and
this thing that doesn't exist and produces no outcomes at all.
Not yet. You see the end of Gladiator?
Yeah.
When he says, "I will see you again, but not yet."
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the end, though. That's the beginning.
No, that's the end after he dies.
No, I thought he said it in the beginning when he's talking about Elysium.
Oh, I don't remember the last scene in Gladiator is the black dude in the arena, and he buries the little figurines of Maximus, and he says, "I will see you again, but not yet."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, an important mimetic clarification there. But yeah, my claim is that I think, for example, what's a fundamental? Well, this is the thing. This is the point with you, is that we're two titans locked in an epic duel of endless debate, because it's like the abortion thing. It's like if your ideology produces the outcome of advocating for putting 19-year-old girls in prison for having committed first-degree murder for taking an abortion pill, then I would say those outcomes are bad in the real world.
They're not bad in the real world unless you're doing it as a retroactive punishment, though. If it was the law of the land, and then a person did it, that would not be a bad outcome, even from your worldview.
I would say that would be
pragmatism.
Yeah, I would say. Okay, well, then and this is my point: is we'd have to.
How would that not be pragmatic? That would be the ultimate pragmatic.
It would be immoral.
It would be immoral to not let women abort their kids?
No, it would be immoral to put a 19-year-old girl in prison for first-degree premeditated murder.
Even if she committed first-degree premeditated murder?
Okay, we can go back to the debate we had, which was a great debate, by the way. I went back and rewatched that. That was a lot of fun. It's not murder to take an abortion pill that kills a fertilized egg. That's not a human being.
But we're talking about pragmatism. We're not talking about your personal beliefs.
Stop saying pragmatism.
But you said that you're a pragmatist.
Actually, I never said I was a pragmatist. I said, in other words...
Okay, play the video.
Okay, please. I said, in other words, based pragmatism.
Yeah, based pragmatism.
I didn't say I'm a pragmatist.
The world.
No, you're not a pragmatist.
There is an equally large number of viable interpretations of the world.
In other words, based pragmatism. Okay, I learned to never call myself a pragmatist after arguing with David Patrick Harry, who just sat there and bitched about pragmatism and never addressed anything I said. I can take good stuff from good ideologies and I'm an enlightened centrist, baby. Okay, I'm a PF Jungian enlightened centrist, a very specific thing.
Okay, but it would be if everybody adopted the worldview that abortion was not murder, let's say. Okay, if everybody adopted...
We're not talking about the same thing here.
Yeah, I think we are. So hang on, let me just give the argument.
Okay.
If everybody adopted the worldview, abortion was not murder, but that you would be treated as a murderer if you took a Plan B pill.
Yeah.
Therefore, nobody's allowed to take a Plan B pill. That would still be pragmatism. That's very pragmatic. There's nothing that's not pragmatic about
Okay,
that.
hold on. Because is the Christian, hold on. First off, would you describe yourself as a Christian nationalist?
Christian populist,
Christian
I would say.
populist. Okay. Is part of the Christian populism worldview making contraceptives illegal? Like condoms and Plan B pills?
Not illegal. There could be some case use for them.
What does that mean?
Means like there's a possibility, for instance, that a clergy member may recommend it for health issues or for the possibility that conception could do significant damage to a woman. There could be some case use for this inside of the medical arena that makes sense. We're not Catholics, in other words.
Okay. I won't even go down the who has better outcomes for the world if you're going to say contraception should not be widely available. The reason I ask is because Plan B, I believe, is contraceptive and is different from the abortion pill. Because I think Plan B prevents the fertilization to begin with. So let's talk about the abortion pill to better fit into.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter either way.
Okay, right? So you're against the
no. Listen, I'm talking about pragmatism. Just wait and listen to what I'm saying to you.
I just told you to stop bringing that up because I'm not a pragmatist.
Okay, but that my argument to you would be from a pragmatic perspective. If you were looking at it from a pragmatic perspective, you could make thing X that you didn't even believe was immoral.
Yeah.
Prosecuted as something which was immoral for the purpose of stabilizing society, and that would be pragmatic.
Yeah, and fair enough. That's why I'm not a pragmatist, because you could say the same about being a psychopath. Like we could make kissing your wife illegal, and then it would stop people from kissing their wife, and that would be pragmatic. It's like a sociopath and a psychopath.
Yeah, that would be pragmatic. That's right.
For the fourth time. That's why I said stop bringing up pragmatism.
Well, then why did you use it as a criticism of my worldview for base pragmatism?
Because I'm taking the part of pragmatism that I outlined in the video, which is evaluating something on the consequences rather than its logical coherence.
And that is what I'm criticizing, is that when you say base pragmatism,
all right, fine.
You're using the metric, you're using this metric. You say, I use the Bible pragmatically based on the consequences of its use.
So
if the consequences of its use are good, then good. If the consequences of its use are bad, then bad, right? That's what you're saying. So this is a pragmatic approach. So what I'm saying is that utilizing that same worldview, even if you believed that the Bible was wrong about abortion, it was just wrong, period. The whole Christian worldview on abortion is wrong until the baby comes out of the canal. It's not even a human. Let's just assume you believed that. It wouldn't matter. Because based pragmatism in this context, even if you made it illegal and called it murder, would still be highly pragmatic.
Okay, you are taking this word pragmatism and taking it somewhere that I don't believe at all. And you can say that this is what it defines. This is what it would be pragmatic in that sense. Fine. I don't like that. So why don't we have the debate that we actually
are having the debate?
No, we're having a meta conversation.
No, this isn't meta at all. So because the end entailment is this. You say the criticism that I gave to Chen can be turned back around and used on me.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that no, it can't. That criticism, though, can be turned and used against you. And here's how it can be used against
anyone.
And here's how it's going to be used against you. You take the Bible and say it's a purely socially consequential document from your worldview.
That's not what I believe.
Then what does based pragmatism mean in regards to interpreting the Bible?
It means, as I said, evaluating. It's more important to look at the consequences of a belief when you act it out versus its logical coherency. That was the point.
I agree. So I couldn't agree with you more. I have this down. I want to make sure. No, I agree that that's your view. I'm not saying I agree the view is correct. I'm just agreeing that is your view.
Okay.
So if it is true that your view doesn't have to be logical or coherent, the consequence, though, needs to be good. That's what matters. The consequence is good. Then
how do you define good?
No, I'm not even asking you that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that if that is the case, then if you were to make a law that said all abortion is murder, even if you didn't believe that it was, that would still be a good consequence ultimately. How could I can still argue that that's a good consequence?
Okay, sure, this has nothing to do with my criticisms of you. So why don't we drop this and move directly into the fundamental
Yeah, I'm sure
issue
that
here.
you would love to drop it, but and we will get to the
I'd
other
love to drop it
part,
because it's irrelevant.
but you say that you want to have the deeper convo, and here I am trying to have it with you.
I knew when you came on, I was like, there's no way that Andrew will concede to anything. So I have to give the concessions where they are. Okay, fine. This discussion of pragmatism, your definition of pragmatism, which I've said now for the 5th time, is irrelevant. I'm a PF Jung.
I'm using your definition.
I will take from pragmatism and bring it into enlightened centrist PF Jungianism.
Okay, then let's do that.
Not all of pragmatism. So stop talking about pragmatism.
So let's just do it from PF Jungianism.
All right, tell me what PF Jungianism is.
Well, I'm just going to ask you. I'll just ask you the question from whatever the PF Jungianism worldview is.
Yeah,
if we made all abortion illegal, all of it, yet PF Jung did not believe that any abortion was actually murder.
It'd be immoral.
Let's just say hypothetically, okay? The results of it still on society could be good, right?
No,
they couldn't be good.
No.
But the consequence would be good.
No. Because if abortion was illegal, even though as I said, I don't believe a fertilized zygote is a human being, then the consequences of that belief would be we are putting 19-year-old girls in prison for first-degree premeditated murder. I regard that as a negative consequence.
Yeah, okay, no, I would even agree. I would just agree from your worldview that that's a negative consequence. But if there was 3 a year girls who violated the law and ended up going to jail for first-degree murder, but you ended up with a much higher stability inside of your society and ended up being able to reproduce.
Sure, hypothetically, that's not how the real world is.
Yeah, but this is a hypothetical.
Like
that's why I'm testing your logic with the hypothetical.
Fair enough.
Assuming that there's let's just say 20 girls who go to jail for first-degree murder because they just had to violate the law. They just had to go and abort the kid. And you don't even believe it's murder. You don't even think they did anything wrong. But the ultimate outcome for society is we're able to reproduce. We have a stable nation. Everything is almost just peachy for everybody else. How can you argue successfully that that's not pragmatic? Because that not only is pragmatic, but from your worldview of consequentialism, that still would be a better outcome.
Hypotheticals are good for testing logic. I engage in them quite often. The problem with hypotheticals is if they are so divorced from reality, they become useless.
I don't think this one's divorced from reality.
Yeah, when you said let's say let's just say plan B, when we'll go with, I think we should differentiate between plan B and the abortion pill, because the abortion pill.
Whatever you want to do. I don't
go with the abortion pill. I don't know how many women.
I'm trying to be even more charitable than that.
I'm trying to be
considering that you say you think no abortion, let's just say, in any way, shape, or form is murder. And so there are some people who, in your worldview, are unjustly going to prison for life for murder, but the consequences to the rest of society are phenomenal.
Well, I don't know that they're phenomenal. If
they were,
you're setting up the hypothetical to say, in this hypothetical world, this is the hypothetical situation, and hypothetically, the consequences were good. Would those consequences hypothetically be good?
No, it's not that. It's not that would those consequences be good. It's that the overall consequences would be better, and so therefore that is the good.
What do I need to say to you to just be able to address the fundamental issue at hand?
Okay, we can just move on, but I think this is going to tie you up for the next one too. I'm just telling you because it's an incoherency you have. But let's get into this.
Hold on, before we get into the interpretation problem. Why don't we briefly talk about the abortion issue, just as it is?
Okay.
The point that this is my belief, ready? This is why I'm not a Christian nationalist. I cannot believe, or it would be lying for me to say, I think that a woman, a 19-year-old girl who takes an abortion pill, has committed a worse crime. That's first-degree premeditated murder. That woman has committed a worse crime than a man or a woman who comes home, someone comes home, sees their partner cheating, and shoots one of them. Because that's second-degree murder. Because it's not. So
in order for me to be a Christian nationalist, or in order for me to be logically consistent, if life begins a moment of conception, I would have to believe that we need to, that the 19-year-old girl who took an abortion pill should go to prison longer than the person who kills someone at a bar fight or finds their lover and shoots them or something. And I think that's logically inconsistent, but I think that's better to do that, because to me it's so intuitively
Yeah,
wrong.
but that's what I'm granting. That's the whole point that I'm granting, is like, you know, you don't really have to. You don't really have to
granting?
agree.
Do you agree with that?
No. I don't. Right. But
Well,
the
why
thing
not?
is,
That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you why.
But why would it? But why would it matter? That's the point. So from here, here's what you're saying. Let me flesh it out.
Yeah.
So you're saying, listen, I think that it would be horrible for me. I could not have this inconsistency in my worldview that you took an abortion pill, and that is the moral equivalent of a guy coming home and blowing away his partner and the chick the dude she's sleeping with. Right. I think that is a far worse crime.
Right. It'd be worse, because in that worldview, it's premeditated. Versus
I know. Right.
Okay.
I get it. So I'm just granting it as being true from that worldview. And now we'll see how it interfaces with Christian ethics.
Okay.
Even if it were true that you thought that one of these was more moral than the other, you still have to contend with ultimately the consequences of the widespread belief that it is not. So if the consequence of the widespread belief that it actually is more immoral to take the plan B than to do that thing, you would have to then demonstrate the consequences on society would be worse by you saying that one of these things is more immoral than the other. Because from my worldview, it seems to me that you could never in a million years make that case.
It depends on how many 19-year-old girls would be locked up and put into prison.
Let's just say 10 a year. That seems high to me, but let's just say 10 a year.
Okay, hold on. This is an example of, let's get into the real world. I genuinely don't know how often I was just Googling it, how often people take abortion pills in the United States.
Well, no, you can just go to countries where it's completely outlawed, and then you can kind of see how many illegal abortions happen yearly. It's not really very many.
Fair enough. That's the argument that people make about the pro choice people make about, well, why should we need to not care about babies being aborted up until birth because it's not that many. It's like, well, it's still the principle of the thing. Over half of U.S. abortions done with pills survey finds.
Yeah,
this is,
but that's legal, so who cares? Like, that doesn't really get to the heart of
Sure.
this.
Okay. Fair enough. There's an assumption I'm making, which is that even though that's
criminalized across the board,
people will still do it.
Yeah. Some people will still violate the law and do it.
Yeah.
But you would have to concede it's going to be
the case.
Yeah. But you would have to concede it's not going to be very many who do that. And the ones who but even if we granted that it was some even higher number than 30 who ended up getting life in prison for taking an abortion pill because it was the law of the land that they could not,
I think.
But it still wouldn't matter, because you would have to demonstrate that the consequences on the rest of society would somehow be brought and laid so much lower than these few people who were imprisoned for this that it would not be worth pursuing. Okay. That's what I think you could not demonstrate.
I see where you're going with this, and I think you could be right. The fundamental issue here, the pragmatic question is, if we were to make the abortion pill illegal, how many people would be put into prison for taking it? Now, you're saying not that many because criminalization reduces incentive, which is correct. Although when you have, there's a clear history of prohibition never working, not for alcohol, not for drugs, for a variety of things. You know, the whole meme of coat hanger abortions and people doing that outside of the law. I don't know exactly what the numbers are. My intuition and my belief, based on, like I said, prohibition not being very effective, is it would be much higher than you're saying. And
let's grant that it's way higher than I'm saying.
Okay, so I
still think you would still have to demonstrate that the consequences to society would be worse because of that instead of better.
Do you know? I'm just asking generally. I don't know. Do you know how many abortions roughly are committed are had every year in the United States?
It's almost the exact same. No, it's not a couple million. I think it's just over 1 million. The same amount. That is replaced with immigrants yearly.
Okay, so 1 million abortions per year, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this says, I just Googled it, NBC, over half of U.S. abortions done with pills. So that's 500,000. Now, let's say if it's illegal, that will be reduced down to, I don't know, let's say 100,000. Because, like you said, you'll grant me for the purpose of, okay, 100,000.
Yeah, sure, 100,000.
100,000 women being put in prison for something that is not a crime and is fundamentally not immoral.
You think that
is wrong?
Okay, so do you remember Napster? Are you old enough to remember Napster, the music downloading thing? Yeah. So that was highly illegal. Yep. Thousands upon thousands of people participated in it until what they did was Napster took one of these labels. I think it was Metallica. Took one of these women to court, sued the shit out of her, won a $50 million settlement, and then suddenly those sites started shutting down all over the fucking place. So what happens is, generally, once a person is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for one of these crimes, other people stop engaging in the crime. Here's a real-time example I can give you that is very recent. Okay, this would be the NFA, or owning a boom boom stick, which is automatic. Okay, there probably are rates of people who own these illegal boom boom sticks, which are automatic. But there's not very many, because the ones who are found are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, thus pretty much eliminating people going and modifying boom boom sticks to be automatic. There's very, very, very few of them.
Yes. Obviously, anywhere. Making something illegal reduces incentive. The exact opposite argument can be made about prohibition. You make alcohol legal, and it did not get reduced in usage.
Yeah, but that was never... by the way, you're comparing kind of these two bizarre distinctions. You can make in your backyard a still, okay? And you can like go give alcohol to your buddies and your friends and this and that. It's not very difficult to do. Finding somebody to conduct an abortion on you is a much more complicated thing to do external a medical facility.
Taking an abortion pill.
Yeah, taking an abortion pill even. So the thing is you have to know in time that you're pregnant. Most of these are used as a contraception, by the way. Well, oftentimes these pills are utilized. The women don't even know that they're pregnant.
Okay. Let's ground this in something that might be because broadly, abortion is not good. Getting someone pregnant and then them getting aborted is not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. Even if it is a clump of cells, it's just the act of. I don't believe it's human, or excuse me, I don't believe it's a conscious being that has rights like a born human being. So from a legal, I'm arguing from a legal perspective, but
yeah.
But morally, I'm relatively in alignment with you that it should not be done generally. So maybe we should. So why don't we talk about something that is morally I'm 100% for, which is contraception. Because to me, contraception is pragmatically clearly a good thing. And it sounds like, I don't know, you can clarify, in the Christian nationalist worldview, like condoms should not be available at Walgreens. It should be prescribed by a church authority or something.
Well, I don't understand. Kind of your position here is stupid, right? So on its face, it's illogical.
I will never say what you're saying is stupid, Andrew.
Well, but yeah, I mean, that's because the things I'm saying aren't stupid. But this thing you just said here is actually, it's really.
Just to be clear, that was a great retort. And Andrew just fucked me on that. All right, Andrew, come back. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, let me make this very clear to you so that you understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You and I can agree that the thing that makes babies is when you stick a dick in a vagina, correct? That is the necessary component. By you advocating for contraception, you're actually advocating that more penises enter more vaginas. That's an entailment of that position.
What's wrong with more penises and more vaginas in the context of a monogamous relationship?
Because an entailment of that is the more times a penis enters a vagina, the more chances that you're going to have an unwanted pregnancy. That is an entailment. Regardless of all the contraception in the world, the more times a penis goes into a vagina, the more the chances of a pregnancy are going to occur. It's simple stats,
compared to zero.
Compared to zero. So everything external zero, you're adding a 1. This thus increases the chances of these unwanted pregnancies. Your position is actually illogical. My position is logical. The logical position would be to promote no contraceptions so that the entailment was a pregnancy. That would be the ultimate deterrent.
Very interesting line of logic. Okay, let me present to you how I see it, and you tell me what you think. People have sex all the time, and they are going to have sex, and it's it's a drive.
No, this is a supposition.
It is a
that
supposition. All right,
yeah, but the
challenge that,
the supposition that's here is that people are going to have sex all the time. However, not very long ago, they were not having sex all the time and having all
True,
of these
because there were
unwanted
no-
children. No,
Sure.
because
There
there
were no
were no
contraception.
what? Oh, because there were no contraceptions.
Right.
So the entailment of there being no contraceptions was
More increase in sex.
no. Yeah, well, yes. It was an increase in sex with more contraceptions, but absent the
That's what the sexual revolution
contraceptions,
was.
people
Yeah.
weren't having sex because
Possibility of pregnancy.
the possibility
And what
of
else?
pregnancy.
And what else?
Social
Possibility
shame.
of STDs.
Yeah, even better. Nature's deterrent.
Okay, hold on. So let's. I get what you're saying. Like if I, it's like safe injection sites, right? It's like, well, if they're safe, obviously people are going to do it more. Okay. Let me let me just approach it from a different angle that is not immediately able to be destroyed with such facts and logic. All else being equal. So you're saying if tomorrow, hypothetically, we made condoms and birth control illegal,
Mm-hmm.
you think that unwanted or not unwanted, out of wedlock births would go down?
They would almost be eradicated in society immediately.
That's interesting. Now, I could see that being a possibility.
Well, not only is it a possibility, but we can literally point to a time 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 90 years ago, 100 years ago, where this was the case.
Does this include, when I say contraception, do you include treatment for STDs?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, I wouldn't. I would say that that's medical, right? But here's the thing that's interesting is that there's no treatment that gets rid of genital herpes. There's no treatment that gets rid of genital warts. There's no treatment that
get rid of like chlamydia and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
that's true. They get rid of the clap, but I don't think that people aren't having sex because of the clap. I think that they're wrapping up and things like this, even if they're sterile, right? They've had vasectomies, this type of thing, because they don't want genital warts, genital herpes, things which you cannot get rid of. So the thing is that there's a nature's deterrent is there, but on top of that, by you adding all these contraceptions, you are increasing the likelihood that penis enters vagina, thus increasing the likelihood of unwanted pregnancies, thus increasing the likelihood of abortions. That's your logical train.
Well, let me tell you the presuppositions that I guess could be wrong, and this could be a function of me being imperfect. My assumption is that there are many places where like teenagers and 20-year-olds and stuff are having sex independent of whether they use contraception. A lot of the unwanted pregnancies, unintentional pregnancies, are precisely because they don't use contraception. Right? Condoms have like a 99% success rate.
No. So a lot of the unwanted pregnancies come because you have two factors. The first is abortion is used as a contraception. That's one. So they don't care. So what they do is they go, okay, we're in our throes of passion, and even if I get you knocked up, you can just go get it taken care of. You can just go get it taken care of. But that's the vast majority of abortions. You just said yourself, Plan B, which is half of the abortions, which is used as
Plan B is not
not Plan B, the abortion pill.
I know. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because I got it. Them and people got mad at me.
I get it. It's pedantic, but fine for the purpose of precise language. Okay. We'll just say the abortion pill itself is still being used as a contraception. It's like a post-contraception. So they're like, go take the pill.
That's problematic.
Right? Isn't that what just happened with Fresh and Fit? He told her to go take the pill, right? He's like, nah, go take, go take care of it.
Hardcore degeneracy right there.
Right. So, but the thing is, like, this is the most common practice. And it's the same thing with contraception, with condoms. Sure. So if we look at the societies not too long ago in this society, the very one we live in, in your grandparents' day, this was not occurring. And yet the unmitigated access to contraception and abortion was non-existent.
Sure.
This is because there was an entailment of you put dick in vagina, chick gets prego, you're fucked That's how it works, right?
There are many things that are different between now and then. We're much less religious nowadays, so it's not, you can't immediately attribute the reduction in sex to the existence of contraceptives. It could also just be the reduction of religion and the social norms. That's, I would say,
No.
at least as much, if
It
not
encouraged men to get married to women earlier so that they could have sex earlier, because women weren't going to have sex with them outside of marriage because they would get pregnant, and that was bad. That was really, really, really bad. So the gatekeepers of sex were like, nah, I got this shit locked up and you ain't getting in there unless I get a ring on this shit, and that's it. So it would promote
You do a
marriage.
good woman impression, by the way. You have good impressions. Like when you're talking to Lauren and you're like, if you're filled with the Holy Spirit, and someone else is filled with the Holy Spirit. It's good stuff.
If
I'll be honest with you.
filled with the Holy Spirit.
So
Anyway,
I
go
have
ahead.
not heard the line of argumentation, and I'm not saying it's wrong, I just haven't heard it, that if you took out contraceptives, you would see a decrease in sex. I understand the logic. I'll have to go back. Maybe I'll bring a sex expert on, or some
Bring them on.
degenerate liberal.
But the
and I'll ask
accountability,
about
the
this.
problem is accountability.
Because if you're correct, then suddenly that is
But
more
Paul, like,
pragmatic.
just think of this entailment here, right?
Yeah.
Just think of the entailment. If you can have sex with zero accountability, why wouldn't you?
Well, that assumes that someone wants to have sex with me, Andrew. Jesus.
Yeah, I know, but you yourself, if there's a hot woman,
you got to have someone to have sex with.
Yeah, I know, but let's just say there's a hot chick, you really like her, she likes you, and she's like, Paul, we can fuck like rabbits all day and all night, and there's zero consequence. I can't get pregnant. You can't get me pregnant. If you did manage to get me pregnant, I could just go get it taken care of. And on top of all of that,
yeah, it's pretty fucked,
right? There's no STDs you got to worry about.
Well, you could say that the kind of person who'd be willing to do that is not someone you would want to form a relationship with. And sex is inherently bonding. That's
yeah, I know, but I'm just talking from incentives. If you're talking about incentives, what could be a greater incentive than, well, you can just hump me as much as you want, and essentially there's no accountability.
Right,
like what could be a better incentive?
Let me ask you, all right, fair enough. This is fine. Let me ask you this. Also, Jim Bob is bitching at me because I didn't read his super chat. I'll come back to that in a sec. I will pull up your super chat, Jim. But hold on. So wait, so Andrew, because, well, how would I phrase this? So is it okay to give blowjobs before marriage?
No, I would still say no. But there's a deterrent there too.
What's that?
Well, the deterrent, which is there again, would be STDs, things like this, which contraception, that wouldn't. So what would happen is, let's just say they wanted to cheat. They're like, okay, wait a second. We can just start humping each other up the butt and do blowjobs. We can just sodomize each other instead. Your rates of STDs would just skyrocket for those particular sexual activities. And so that would create a brand new deterrent.
That's assuming they did it outside of the relationship, which is a different problem. But two people who are in a committed in a monogamous relationship, non-married, although as James Sexton pointed out, a secular marriage is not necessarily the best deal nowadays. So let's say two people in a monogamous relationship doing non-procreative sex. There's nothing wrong with that fundamentally.
People who are in monogamous relationships aren't really at risk for having unwanted pregnancies that often, to be honest with you. People in monogamous relationships usually have wanted pregnancies.
I don't know if that I could, that might be true, but I don't know. It is true. Well, okay, how do you know?
Okay, well, so we can look at the committal levels.
Logic it. Give me the evidence.
I'm giving you the evidence. We can look at the committal levels in the communities where abortion is the most rampant. So we can look, for instance, at the African American community, which the women there accommodate about 6% of the population, but are responsible for over 50% of the abortions. And this is a highly promiscuous community. The relationships inside of those communities that practice marriage and monogamy, which is not a very high percentage at all, generally don't have these unwanted pregnancies.
That doesn't tell me anything about, for the average couple who is a monogamous, like boyfriend and girlfriend, if they get pregnant, is that wanted or unwanted?
Okay, but
also, there's wanted and unwanted.
If most of the abortions are done by one community, and that community is highly, highly promiscuous, then I have just demonstrated for you that that most of this is being done external monogamous relations.
You're attributing one factor. You're saying
because all you need is one. You just need most. We're just looking for most. Just
what about other
word
factors?
most.
What about other factors?
There's plenty of other factors, but you're just asking most.
Okay.
So I gave you the evidence for most.
What I was going to say is the reason I brought up that I never heard this argument before is this help. See, you and I have a we have a relationship of sorts, Andrew. We have a meta relationship where I don't just argue with you once. We argue in iterated bouts. Now I can take what you've told me, evaluate the arguments on my own, and come back and destroy you next time. But let's get to the fundamental issue, which I will absolutely destroy you on right now, which is this problem of interpretation.
Yeah, let's get into that. So this would be the main criticism. I don't want to straw man it.
Yeah, can you summarize your position?
Yeah, well, let me make sure that we're not talking past each other. So here's what I wrote down. Okay. Peterson claims I'm paraphrasing this, okay, but Peterson claims the fundamentalist view is worse. Okay, hang on.
You want me to just pull up the part where he says it?
Nope, don't. I'm gonna paraphrase it real quick. Then I guess you can play it after that, but I just want to make sure. Peterson claims that the fundamentalist view is worse than the non-fundamentalist view because their claim and their take on the book is absolutely the only correct one. That's true, Paul, but Orthodox are not fundamentalists. You get this confused. We're not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, someone pointed that out. That's correct. I was using them somewhat interchangeably.
Yeah, we are not fundamentalists. So you got that wrong in your video too, Paul. Peterson,
I get many things wrong all the time, Andrew.
Yeah, I know.
That's
but now you're gonna have to make
centrism.
You're gonna have to make a longer video, just going through this video and making revisions to it.
Peterson, I'll just quit this conversation and save me time.
But Peterson and Paul are conflating yet another form of Protestant babble and prattle in appealing to the Bible itself, absent the holistic of the church. So Paul, being the fool that he is, doesn't realize all the groups that did this exact same thing. Let's take an easy group, feminists. They wrote the women's Bible exactly to get the result out of the Bible they wanted to see in the world, which, as you saw, Paul said the exact same thing. He used the Bible the exact same way. This actually proves, Paul, that his ideology is the one that falls prey to the problem he's criticizing us for.
Mine does too, yes.
As he believes he's the ultimate interpreter of something way bigger than anything I could ever claim. And that is that all outcomes for all people are good and which outcomes for all people are bad based on his subjective interpretation. Talk about a God complex, Paul. That is the ultimate God complex.
I never said I was the ultimate interpreter of the Bible.
You would have to be. It's an entailment.
I'm the ultimate arbiter of enlightened centrism. That's for sure. I'm the vice.
Bro, it's an entailment of the position to say that you evaluate the Bible based on its outcomes. That would make you the ultimate interpreter.
Yeah, but I'm aware of my infallibility. If I said I'm the ultimate one,
who else could there be besides you?
Well, when you put it like that, Andrew, maybe I'm inclined to think that I am the ultimate arbiter.
Yeah, who else could? If you are the interpreter and it's due to your interpretation that you can determine which outcomes are good and bad, you're the ultimate arbiter, Paul.
I don't know what ultimate arbiter means.
It means nobody else's subjective preference when it comes to the judgment of this can be better than yours because
I don't believe
everything.
That.
Oh, you don't believe that?
No, obviously.
Then whose judgment is better than yours when we evaluate these outcomes?
My fellow brothers and sisters of Christ.
And how do you determine that they're correct?
Okay, hold on. You're pointing out exactly the correct thing, which is I have the same problem that I accused you of having.
No, but I don't have the problem, and I'm going to show you why.
Do. Okay, hold on. Wait,
but I just want to make sure that we get through this, right? How do you know, absent you being the ultimate arbiter?
I don't know what you're. Let's continue, and then this will crop up.
Oh, okay, fine. I don't really know what you're getting at. Subjective morality.
Hold on. Jim Bob's bitching at me. If a stranger kicks a pregnant woman who wants the child within the same time frame she could take the pill, should the stranger be charged? No.
Yeah. Subjective morality with zero grounding based around non-discoverable knowledge is your position, and that's why you're wrong. Absent human interpretation, which degrades Paul into relativism, which causes Paul to be ineffective at fighting postmodernist ideology.
Nobody hates postmodernists more than I do.
Effective at fighting postmodernist ideology. So this is my criticism. So I'm going to give you the answer to your question.
Okay.
This is what I call the machine argument. made by Wilson, so that you understand the distinction between the Orthodox and everybody else.
Is this Andrew Wilson?
Andrew Wilson.
That's based. Quote your own arguments
yes.
as like a philosopher.
Yes,
that's good.
It's called The Machine Argument by Andrew Wilson.
That's good.
So here's the argument.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's more of a thought exercise. Okay. But you could see it as an argument essentially. But here's the thought exercise. Let us assume for a moment that you are a great machinist who works in a machine shop. Okay. All of the machines, though, in the shop can only work a singular way. If they cannot work any way but one way, there's no other way for them to work other than a single way. You take on an apprentice and you teach the apprentice how to operate those machines the same exact way that you operate them, because they can only be operated one way. If the original machinist dies, it would not matter, because the second machinist would be the same as the first, the same as the third, the same as the fourth, the same as the fifth, because the machines can only be operated one way. That is why my worldview does not fall prey to the same argument that yours does and Protestants do, because of the infallibility of apostolic succession. It can only work one way. The machine cannot work any other way. By the paradigm viewpoint of all other Christians, there can only be one truth. And if there can only be one truth and only one way for the machine to work, then the apostle who comes after the apostle who comes after the apostle who works the same machine the same way must be the correct view.
Ever played the telephone game, Andrew?
Sure.
And what do you notice about the telephone game?
That things get lost in translation.
Or succession, one might say.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with my argument. Do you want to address the thought exercise?
Yeah, it's good. And I will refer to it as the machine. I will start referring to that as the Wilson argument when we're talking about apostolic succession. I will help spread your memes far and wide. So just for people watching, what we're getting at is the claim is, as Andrew the video is not just me criticizing you. The first half of it is steel manning you. And like Andrew points out correctly, that you have these Protestant churches that say Jesus was non-binary and all this weird shit. And Andrew points out, well, hold on. If it's sola scriptura, if you're just looking at the Bible and interpreting it yourself, who's to say that your interpretation is wrong? And that's what Peterson identifies as the fundamental correct criticism of postmodernism. There's an infinite number of ways you can interpret a text or any phenomenon, and there's no obvious way to determine which one's
postmodernism.
Canonical. Yeah,
this is postmodernism. Postmodernism, also an entailment of it, though. The reason that can exist is because it's being brought to you by a PF Jung, Jordan Peterson style subjective, non-grounded morality.
Okay.
That's what opens it up to the criticism. Sure. Those who defer to objective morality would have to claim that there can only be one truth and one way for the machine to work. If the machine could work any other way, it would be untrue. Therefore, we would have to
pragmatic or pragmatist evaluation of truth.
Well, no, pragmatist would adopt our stance for what is true, but it would still have to say it's subjective ultimately, whereas we would believe it's objective because there can only be one. So the thing is that the machine always works the same exact way from the inception of the inventor. So if that is true, then it is the truth because the machine works.
All right. Here's where the real debate begins. And I did my research. Okay. The criticism I was leveling against you is saying
Hang on a second. My daughter's ignoring me and I need another cup of coffee.
You point out, how do you know which interpretation is correct? If you're Protestant, sola scriptura, if you're filled with the Holy Spirit and someone else is filled with the Holy Spirit, how do you know which one is correct if they give conflicting accounts? Andrew, how do I know which ecclesiastical authority is correct? Why are the Eastern Orthodox correct and not the Catholics?
Because of I just pointed out to you. Because in the objective theory of truth, there can only be one thing which is true. The reason you have to concede that this is true is because of the law of excluded middle and the law of non-contradiction. The law of non-contradiction states something cannot be both true and false. That would be a contradiction. Mm-hmm. The law of excluded middle would say that the thing cannot be kind of true or kind of false. It would have to be either true or false. Law of excluded middle. The thing must be what it is.
I have a massive...
So Christianity is a thing. It must be itself.
Okay.
If it is itself, there can only be one way that is true, or no way which is true, but it cannot be both.
Okay, so why are the Catholics? Why should I not convert to? Why should I convert to Eastern Orthodox, or why should I submit to Eastern Orthodox ecclesiastical authority?
Because the machinist has never changed, and therefore the machine has always worked the same way. The machinist has always been the same since inception. This would be the apostles of Christ. Yes.
You mean Peter, whom Jesus gave the keys to?
He gave them to all the apostles.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He said he would build his church on the rock that is Peter. Peter being named before all of the other apostles in virtually every verse.
Yeah, so what though?
Because he gave the keys
to
which
Peter, existed
not
first.
The other apostles.
Which existed first? Did Catholicism exist before Orthodoxy, or did Orthodoxy exist before Catholicism?
I don't know.
Orthodoxy existed before.
Yeah, and then Jesus showed up and said, Peter, I'm giving you the keys.
Orthodoxy existed before that. It existed before there was a Catholic Church.
Why?
The schism was when Catholics declared that there would be a pope. The church always operated with only bishops. That's how it operated. No, it's not wrong.
Why did the Eastern churches in Antioch and areas around there constantly defer back to Rome on matters of evicting bishops from the Episcopalian residence?
Because they
so on.
Yeah.
And so
but so what? Who cares?
It showed deference to the church in Rome.
It did not show that there was a pope.
It showed that the church in Rome had final authority.
No.
East. Yep.
They did not have final authority over all matters at all.
I watched the debate between Jay Dyer and Nick Fuentes, where Nick Fuentes destroyed Jay Dyer in the theological domain by pointing all this stuff out. Why would Jesus give the keys to Peter if he did not intend for him to build his church on his rock?
He gave the keys to
for several centuries after.
Then answer this question. Then just answer this logical question back. Why wasn't there a pope from the beginning? And if there was a pope at the beginning, okay, then even then you would have to concede that then either they have the unchanging foundation or we have the unchanging foundation, but the machine argument would still be in play regardless of which you chose.
Let me, I don't know that exactly. What did Jesus mean when he said, I'm going to give the keys to Peter?
Same thing he meant when he said that he was going to make all of the apostles church leaders. Same thing.
Okay, but he said specifically, I'm giving the keys to Peter. Peter and the apostles.
It's just phraseology, but who cares?
Ultimately, it's just phraseology. The wording of the Bible is just phraseology.
Bro, it doesn't take away from my argument. Let us concede. Let us concede for a second, for the sake of argument, that orthodoxy is incorrect and that Catholicism is correct, and they have a complete and total unchanging standard from apostolic succession. The argument would still stand. Well, that would be the necessary key.
Yeah.
That the thing always worked and was unwavering. You take your pick between these two churches, fine, but they do not have the same criticism which can be levied at them that you can at Protestantism, and there's no way around that.
Okay, hold on real quick, because this is just funny. Jesus meant he was too drunk to drive, and Peter was a designated driver. Jesus was an alcoholic. BAC content of 14% if his blood turns into wine. The Wilson machinist argument, you may or may not be familiar, applies to papal apostolic succession, does it not?
No.
Why not?
Because of schism. So if there's a schism, it can't be the same body. The machine has to work the same way.
Okay. I do enjoy trying to steelman the Catholic theology here, but let me ask a broader question. If you're correct, you are engaging in pure logical. Your worldview is the only logically coherent worldview, correct?
Yes. It's not the only one which is logically possible, but it's the only one which can do the heavy lifting as a prerequisite for Christianity being a truth claim.
Okay, this is not a debate question. This is more of an interview question. I'm genuinely curious. Why then, if you are in possession of the clearly logically coherent argument, and you're operating from a Christian perspective, why has the Catholic Church not submitted to Eastern Orthodox teachings?
They do submit to Eastern Orthodox teachings. They just don't submit to the church authority.
Well, why do they not submit to the church?
Because they're schismatic.
Okay, but what? But presumably you could, if you were in dialogue with these Catholics, as Jay Dyer was with Nick Fuentes, it would seem, well, the logical argument will win out. But there's constant theological dispute and debate. There's debate about what the church fathers debated about what Jesus meant when he talked about giving Peter the keys to whatever the fuck, Peter giving him the keys.
None of this contends with the argument, Paul.
No, this is okay. First off, I just said this. I was asking you a more general question, not a debate question. But the reason I'm asking this is, it would seem to me as an outsider, because you made the thing, if someone's filled with the Holy Spirit and someone's filled with the Holy Spirit, how do I know which is correct? Okay. Someone says they have apostolic succession, the papacy. Someone else says they have apostolic succession.
I don't think you
Eastern
understand,
Orthodoxy.
bro. I don't think you understand.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to give it to you again. I'm going to try to explain to you again.
Please. That's why I brought you here.
The key thing, the error that you made in your video, the key error in your argument was that you conflated orthodoxy with Christian fundamentalism. It is not Christian fundamentalism. So therefore, yes, Christian fundamentalist, as Jordan Peterson and you both point out, is absolutely prone to the same exact criticism that they're levying at the other Protestants. They are. Your guys' ideology is also prey to the same criticism. Our ideology cannot be prey to the same criticism. And the reason is because we have a grounded foundation using this machine thought experiment to demonstrate this. We have a grounding foundation of unchanging.
Okay.
If it's unchanging, then the machinist key would be the exact same. It would essentially be the exact same machinist over and over and over. Inside the Christian worldview, because they believe in objective morality, there can only be one truth. This means that the ones who can operate the machines are the ones who must have the truth.
Sure. Okay. And I hope you know I'm asking this out of sincerity. I'm not trying to pretend that I understand I'm not trying to pretend that I don't understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. And I hope that that me asking you this question is evidence that I'm genuinely trying to clarify how you suss out these differences. Because your machinist argument is an argument for apostolic succession.
It's an argument for the unchanging nature of the church.
It's tied up with apostolic succession, right?
Yes, that's part of it. But what you need to have something which is unchanging. It's not prone to your telephone analogy because
fair enough.
It's unchanging.
Okay, fair enough.
God's nature, as Protestants will point out, is unchanging. Therefore, his church must be unchanging.
Okay.
The nature must be unchanging.
This is what the Catholics would say the same thing. My question, and as someone who is not, do you understand how, as an outside observer, it's not obvious to me, even though you explain it and have the logical argument correct. I agree what you're saying about the apostolic succession. You need one objective truth. Fine, fair enough. But how do I know which church authority?
It doesn't matter.
To?
That's my point, though. It doesn't matter ultimately.
Between Catholic or Eastern Orthodox?
No, it doesn't. Listen, here's why it doesn't matter. What I'm doing is showing you why your criticism isn't true. The criticism can't be true. Not saying that what I'm telling you must be true. I'm just telling you that your criticism cannot be true. Because your criticism requires a subjective framework, and Christians don't agree to a subjective, rather an objective framework. So they agree there must be one truth.
Okay.
You guys, on the other hand, your criticism is that truth is subjective. Since that is the case, you're prone to this criticism. Those who believe in objective truth would have to defer to only there being one.
Okay. First off, to clarify, truth is a complicated issue. To say truth is subjective is wrong. It's definitely not purely subjective, which is why I don't believe.
Then what? I mean,
Protestants,
that's not saying anything though, Paul.
Yeah. I believe you can make objective claims about intersubjective phenomenon. Like, is it true? Like we've talked about before with the colorblind analogy. Is it true that this is a white shirt? Is that an objective truth? Well, what if you're colorblind? Well, no, not in their world. Then it's not. Whatever quality color you're seeing is not true for them. So so I don't want to get into the deep epistemological.
Yeah, that's subjective interpretation. Sure.
Well, hold on.
But there still is a truth of the matter, and that's what you're agreeing to.
Okay. Yes, and listen. That's all the Jordan Peterson Sam Harris debates are all about.
Yeah, what I'm trying to show you so that you understand is that you're viewing this through the wrong lens of paradigm. That's why the criticism falls short, and why I would level Jordan Peterson on this, and will when I debate him, which is going to happen, by the way.
Are you saying that out of confidence, or are you saying that out of?
I'm not going to reveal anything, but
Okay.
but though I go on these shows like this with you peasants, I can basically pick my ticket. I just like to have these conversations because I think they're good to have.
And I do. I appreciate that. I do.
But
if you do debate Jordan Peterson, please tell him he's one of his biggest former fans is disappointed.
Well, I don't know if I go out there, Paul. Maybe I'll just fly you out there with me. It'll be like a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing, right? It'll be like a Make-A-Wish Foundation.
This is my point. See, if people can have a problem with you, but anyone who says that you are not funny is fucking wrong. But back to the
well, I'm an entertainer. I'm an entertainer first and foremost.
There we go. Listen, the fool is the precursor of the savior. I get what you're saying. It's fine. We can have the subjective, but my point is.
Well, I'm just saying you're looking at it through the wrong paradigm. If you look through it through the correct paradigm,
but hold on,
you could have this. You could have this criticism. You are subject to the postmodern critique, and the reason you and Jordan Peterson will always be at the mercy of the postmodernist is because the postmodernist can only have the worldview absent an objective, grounded truth. The Christian is not subject to the postmodernist criticism here, and that's what Jordan Peterson's alluding to. Okay, what he's actually saying here, so that you understand, is that postmodernists get correct that you can have infinite interpretations of even infinitesimal data sets. Mm-hmm. This would include even the reading of the word "the."
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It can be an ongoing infinite loop of various interpretations. The Christian worldview is not subject to that criticism within its own worldview.
Then
whereas yours is inside of your own worldview.
Here's why I think you're wrong. There is so much theological dispute within the Christian worldview you're talking about, so many interpretations of theology.
And they would all agree that that's true, yes.
Okay, so...
But you're still not getting it, so that you understand, inside the paradigm of the Christian worldview, there can only be one truth.
But they disagree on what that
they can argue about it all day long, but within the Christian paradigm, there can only be one truth. Inside of Paul and Jordan B. Peterson's paradigm and postmodernist paradigm, there can be many
truths. If I said to you, I actually do believe in objective truth. I think there is objective right and wrong. And I do believe, it depends on how you define objective and subjective, but certainly there is. I wouldn't be in a position to say there are some things are right and some things are wrong if I did not believe that was objectively grounded. If it was all opinion and preference, if it was all this Vosh postmodernist nonsense, I'd be in no position to do that. So let's say I'm a Christian. So now I'm in the Christian paradigm. There's one truth. How do I know which theological interpretation is correct? Because just real quick,
let's assume that you never can. Let's assume that you never can. Doesn't matter.
I want to go back to this fundamental point here.
Okay.
Because we talked about the church being schismatic versus heretical. Not heretical. You never said that. And I apologize to you and everyone who was harmed by me misquoting you. Schismatic, though. And then I asked you, is schismatic bad? You said yes. And is following the Pope a type of heresy? More or less, yes. Okay, that seems very problematic because correct me if I'm wrong, the postmodern, it would be postmodern. The postmodern Protestants saying that Jesus is non-binary, that's also schismatic and heretical. So if we're using this roughly, or just a schismatic, not heretical, we're using the same word to describe the Catholic Church and the Protestant preachers who say Jesus was non-binary. So how am I to adjudicate, okay, well, you're saying, well, I'm in a Christian worldview, so I acknowledge there's an objective truth. The non-binary preachers would say there's an objective truth. It said Jesus was non-binary. How do I, as the outside observer, know once we're in the paradigm of
that's the point that you're missing, though, right? And I've been trying to explain this to you over and over. Listen to what I'm saying closely, okay? All debate, all philosophy, okay, revolves around worldview and paradigms. All of it. The paradigm in which you, Jordan B. Peterson, and postmodernists all have in common is that you have no grounding foundation for objective truth. The grounding foundation for objective truth in Christianity is God. Truth is a person. Truth is God. That is the foundation.
I
now,
believe that.
we can disagree on what the truth of the matter is of what God says or doesn't say, or all these different things.
Yeah.
Within the paradigm. That's fine.
Okay.
But we're not subject to the same criticism that you are subject to, because we do not believe in subjective truth. So this would be an internal paradigm fight, but it would be revolving around the supposition that truth is objective, whereas your supposition would be that it is not. So you're prone to the criticism. We are not.
Okay, you listen to me now.
Okay.
I believe truth is objective. I don't call myself a cultural Christian.
Then ground it.
God. The Logos.
God?
God.
Okay. So God
is
is
God.
the truth.
And I mean, I'm not saying this as a thing. I believe in God. Now, the nature of God is certainly up for dispute, but I do believe in God. I believe in higher power.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the nature of this God?
A mere mortal like me could not put it into words simply. But hold on.
Well, then put it in complexly.
God is what is allowing us to have this conversation right now. Okay. Hold on. I agree with you. Truth is objective. I'm in your paradigm. I don't call myself a cultural. I think the Vosh postmodernist. Well, first off, nobody bitches about postmodernism more than I do. So I get that I am.
But you understand that you're subject to their criticism of your worldview.
According to you, not if you have an objective grounding for truth.
Yeah. So what's your objective grounding for truth?
God.
Okay. So all standards for truth for you are the commandments of God.
Yes.
And is there only one truth?
Yes.
Okay. Why is abortion not murder?
Because it's not a human being.
Okay. So because
hold on. Well, abortion, it depends on the abortion. If it's 9 months, that's murder. If it's a clump of cells, no.
Is that subjective or objectively true?
Objectively true.
It's objectively true. Is it objectively true we're having this conversation right now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's objectively true?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I got to ask you this. Okay. Can your God lie?
No.
He can't lie.
Can yours?
No.
We have the same God, so no.
Well, as we go through the nature of what God is, I just want to make sure I'm going to show you the orthodox nature of God.
Okay,
and if you agree that is the nature of your God is the orthodox God, then I have to wonder why you wouldn't be an orthodox Christian.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do this. This is a good exercise. Okay, continue to walk me through it.
Okay, so your God, did he die for your sins so that you don't have to sacrifice any more for your sins?
He sent his one and only son to do that.
What does that mean?
He sent Jesus Christ to do that.
Which you're Trinitarian, of course, right?
Of course. No, I don't even fully.
You're not a Trinitarian?
I don't know what I am exactly.
You don't know what you are.
Can you be a Christian without having a fully fleshed out theology?
I think that you can. I wouldn't say that you couldn't receive salvation because you don't understand deeper theological meanings. But what I am saying is that you, unfortunately for you, is you are capable of understanding. And so if you are capable
I think you overestimate me, Andrew. I'm dumber than I look.
Okay. So then going back to this, as we look at the nature of the God has to be able to do the heavy lifting. In other words, the worldview itself has to have the root foundation to do the heavy lifting. So as we do this internalized exercise between Christians, trying to understand which theology is correct or incorrect, we still are starting with the foundation that God is ultimate truth and that our epistemology is grounded in that knowledge is only possible through God, that morals are only possible through God, that all of these things are only possible through God, period. So the internal criticisms that we may have for each other start with that basic foundation. Your criticisms with postmodernists do not have said foundation. If they do not have said foundation, you're open to that criticism. We are not. That's the whole point.
Okay.
That's what you get wrong in your video that I wanted to show you.
I don't think I get it wrong because I'm operating in the paradigm you just laid out with God.
Well, you said you're a cultural Christian.
That doesn't mean I don't believe. That's a poor definition, and other losers. That's why
increasingly, I honestly think I should only ever call myself an enlightened centrist, because then I can just describe it as what I want. Cultural Christianity is what the fucking, what do you call it? The Protestants who said Jesus is non-binary. I'm not that. If that's what people mean by cultural Christianity, I'm not that. I'm a PF Jungian. Okay, I have my own take and interpretation of many things. It's the only it's because nature of being a human. What this doesn't elucidate for me is how you have the certainty you do that the Catholics are wrong.
We wouldn't need to have that certainty to not be prone to the same critique within our worldview.
Fine.
You,
fair
though.
enough. Okay, fair
but that's
enough.
my point. That's my whole point.
Okay, hypothetically, let's take that. For the sake of argument, let's say that's true.
Then that's it. That's the end of the argument.
not.
Your criticism inside the video was wrong. If you concede that point of the argument, you've conceded the argument.
I'm saying no. Okay, very, very crafty. Hold on. I'm saying
it is very crafty because it's true.
I'm saying in this conversation you and I are having right now, let's say for sake of argument, even though I don't believe this, that what you just said is true. That being in the Christian worldview exempts you from the postmodern critique. For sake of argument, let's say that's true.
Well, it wouldn't exempt you from their critique, but the critique would be dismissed from our paradigm.
Fine. It protects you from
your
critique.
Paradigm. It cannot be dismissed.
Okay.
That's the end of the argument. Well, then for the sake of argument, you've conceded the argument.
That's what it means to say for the sake of argument, I'll grant you this. No, okay, so for sake of argument, let's say that's true.
Yeah.
Now I'm faced with the problem of, okay, the postmodernists, we fended them off. The barbarians are gone. The Night King is dead. We still have the Lannisters. Now I'm in a world where I go, okay, we're postmodern critique. We've defended against it. Are the differences between the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Church insignificant as the differences between postmodernists and Christians?
No, they're probably more significant.
Okay, that's problematic.
Perhaps, but so what?
Well, that's my point. That's problematic.
What is your point?
In the same way that it's problematic to not have a defense against the postmodern critique, which is what we've been arguing the whole time. It's problematic that the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic Church are schismatic, or rather, the Eastern Orthodox considers the Catholic Church to be schismatic. So
it's problematic.
We've traded. So I've traded. So let's say I concede to you. I'm now Eastern Orthodox, or I'm now in the Christian worldview. First, I am in the Christian worldview, maybe different from yours, but whatever. I'm in that paradigm. I swapped one problem, the postmodernists are my enemies, to now the Catholics, assuming I'm Eastern Orthodox. Well, how do we solve that problem now?
Who cares? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the argument.
It's irrelevant. Okay, but Andrew, you and I are so much bigger than the argument we were having 5 minutes ago. This is a new problem we have. This is a new argument we have.
I don't know. I would say that if you wanted to dive into the theological differences between these major groups, that you should talk to somebody who is a theologian. What I'm giving you is what I came on here to do was demonstrate for you through political reasoning.
Yeah.
Exactly why your criticism in this Chen debate, all of your criticisms, in fact, were essentially wrong. And I demonstrated that all of them.
To beat Andrew Wilson in the debate. I just realized I just beat you in the debate.
What was the debate?
You just said, if you want to know about that, you should talk to a theologian.
Yeah.
And I would say, Andrew, that's a brilliant rhetorical evasion.
It's not an evasion. It's nothing to do with the argument.
You've evaded the fundamental issue that I'm.
Yeah, but that's not a fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is whether or not, and this is what your video stated, fundamentalists are subject to the same exact criticism. I would say that they are. However, we're not fundamentalists. We are not subject to the same criticism.
I should have used different terminology there.
We are not subject to the same criticism the same way that you are subject to the criticism of the postmodernist. The reason that you're able to make this criticism is because you believe through a subjective lens that postmodernists and all people can make this criticism of you. However, inside of the Christian worldview and Christian paradigm, this can't be the case because we believe in objective truth. Your paradigm was wrong, Paul.
No, it is not. As evidenced by, you cannot tell me how to solve the problem of internal dispute within the Christian paradigm.
Why do I need to?
Because
it's not
you
important. It's
you
irrelevant.
yourself said the difference between Eastern Orthodoxy and Catholicism might even be more significant than between postmodernists and Christians. And I go, God damn, that's a statement. And then I ask you, okay, well then I was focusing on the wrong problem. Fuck the postmodernists. How do we deal with these Catholics?
Yeah,
And
you
then
were
say,
focusing on the wrong problem. So what you said in the video was wrong.
So you're saying, and I'm happy to issue this correction.
And that's it.
Hold
That's
on,
it then.
no, I'm happy to issue this correction if what I hear you, if I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying that the Catholics represent a bigger threat to the Christian worldview than the postmodernists.
No, that's not what I said.
You said they represent
that
a
the
greater
distinctions in worldview perhaps are greater even.
Fair enough.
Than the distinction
clarifying.
between postmodernists and whatever your fucking PF Jung centrist worldview is, whatever that is.
Postmodernists versus your worldview, Christian worldview.
Listen, so that you understand, and I'm going to try to break this down the best way that I can.
Please.
Worldviews are what accommodate logical possibility. Worldviews are what accommodate logical possibility. There are things inside of your worldview which are logically possible, which cannot be logically possible in my worldview. Do you understand?
Logically possible.
Yes. Logical possibility is determined by worldview. There is only one way to do logic, but what can be logically possible is going to be determined specifically by worldview. When you make this criticism and say that we're just as prone to it as you are, this is incorrect because of logical possibility. The distinction between subjective truth not being a logical possibility in the Christian worldview versus yours. That makes you prone to this criticism, not us.
Then why is there so much internal theological dispute in the Christian paradigm?
It wouldn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's erroneous.
But my critique of you don't know what the correct interpretation is exactly the point that I'm making when I'm pointing out that there's theological dispute in the same worldview.
The problem is that it's illogical for you to do this because the criticism.
All right, well, fuck logic. I'm telling you to your face.
Fuck logic.
Is my problem. Yeah.
Fuck logic.
Logic is for nerds. That's my point. Fuck all these logical nerds, these Ben Shapiro facts and logic fools. Go with comedy. You are compelling not because of your logical argumentation, but because of your charisma and compelling jokes. That's what I think. It's an indication of being real and authentic and having grounding in reality. If some autistic ChatGPT nerd was like, well, logically, basis of truth, it's like, no. You do so much more than just the logical argumentation. That's why you're compelling. So fuck the logic. I'm telling you, until you can define or you can explain to me how to address the issue of multiple infinite interpretations within the Christian paradigm, then my criticism that you are subject to the postmodern critique still stands. That's what I.
But it can't be true.
I see it
because we're talking about two different paradigms. This is your problem. It's like you say there's no way to make this reconciliation inside of the Christian paradigm. But what I'm telling you is that if Christians believe in one single objective truth as the grounding foundation for their entire worldview, that cannot be the case.
Then how do
that criticism would only apply to you? How it would be irrelevant, Paul.
You keep saying it's irrelevant. I think you are saying it's irrelevant when what you should have said is go talk to a theologian because I cannot suss this out myself, which is fair. To be honest, I don't think anyone can suss it out because the postmodernists are correct in that critique. And hold on, if I watch a debate between
postmodernists are correct in that critique.
That's exactly what Jordan Peterson said in the video.
Does that come from the realization and worldview that all of this is subjective, and so that criticism has to apply?
We keep treading over the same ground because, like I said, the fact that there is so much theological dispute within the Christian worldview indicates that the subjectivity is still there, whether you take a Christian worldview or not. And not only is it still there, it's very problematic because the difference between Eastern Orthodoxy and Catholicism is significant enough that the Eastern Orthodox Church regards the Catholics as schismatic and following the Pope to be heretical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to me that sounds that sounds like a serious problem that has not been solved by just adopting the Christian worldview.
Yeah, that's not an argument though, Paul.
That's my argument.
That's not an argument. What's the argument?
So you say.
That Christians can't agree? That's the argument?
Yeah, basically. That's my what about Mendo? Well, Christians can't agree though.
Christians can't agree though.
Christians can't agree though. That's good. This is good meme smithing here.
Anyway, so what you should do is you should revise the video so that You
No.
understand better that
I've
what's going
solidified
on,
my
what's
beliefs
actually
now.
going on from both of you is you're giving a postmodernist subjective critique of the internal paradigm of Christianity, which isn't possible from their worldview. You fucked it all up, Paul.
No.
You fucked the whole thing up.
This conversation has now just solidified that I'm absolutely correct
About what?
about everything. Not everything. I should not have said that you said heretical, but the fundamental problem still stands. We can wrap up here pretty soon. And I mean that. Okay, so I said this earlier. I do mean this now. This is I'm trying to genuinely understand your approach and how you see things. And I would encourage anyone watching. Jay Dyer did debate Nick Fuentes, and it was I think a fantastic debate because it's the root of this theological problem. It's entirely a problem of hermeneutics and theology because Nick Fuentes and Jay Dyer, I would assume, agree on almost all of the most relevant political issues. Nick Fuentes and Jay Dyer would agree on, I'm assuming, for the most part. But then the question arises, well, what about all this fundamental theological divide here? And because in my mind, Andrew, if you had said it's really not that significant at the end of the day, I probably agree with that, but that's because I don't know much about it. And then the fact that the Eastern Orthodox Church regards Catholicism as schismatic indicates that, okay, there must be something significant here that I'm not aware of, and I'm just curious what that is. So my question is, if you are correct within the Christian paradigm, Eastern Orthodoxy is correct, why do you think the Catholics are just purposely misunderstanding? Do you think they're just dumb in general? Or if you have the correct logical argumentation within the same worldview that Catholics do, why is there not more reconciliation than there is?
Who cares? And it has nothing to do with the critique, bro.
I'm not asking you for the purpose of debate.
I need you to understand the way that my brain works. Okay. So I watch your video and I go, okay, let's listen from Paul's rational, logical paradigm, the distinction between what Andrew is doing, what Destiny's doing, what Lauren Chen's doing, the way that all these different people are viewing the world. Okay. This person's viewing it this way. This one's viewing it that way. This one's viewing it this way, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So all I did was go through, look at your criticisms, and purposely come in and addressed each one of the criticisms. What I'm telling you is that your statement cannot be true inside of the Christian worldview because we believe in objective truth. It can only be true from the paradigm of subjective truth, which is what you follow, which makes you subject to the postmodernist critique and not us. And that is where you and Jordan Peterson both committed a massive fallacy when you were talking about this debate within Christianity, because we believe there can only be one truth, which means that this can be reconciled. Yours cannot ever be reconciled. Cannot be.
Anything else?
That's it. Look at things through the correct worldview, Paul.
Like I said, Andrew, you are correct that enlightened centrism has not achieved anything pragmatically.
Yeah, well, it hasn't achieved anything at all.
Not at all yet.
At all.
Yet.
Nothing.
All right.
Now, has my worldview
this is good.
achieved a lot, Paul?
One might say. I have to look into it more.
Like and all honestly, of the West, has it achieved the entire West and the East?
You know what? I used to think that the Crusades were immoral, and then I saw something about it, and the Crusades were kind of justified. I'm like, kind of think they were probably justified. Although it was, of course, the Catholics who, once again, the Catholics have to save the Eastern Orthodox ass because they can't handle the Turks, and you guys lost Constantinople. Embarrassing, to be honest. I would be embarrassed to be Eastern Orthodox if I lost Constantinople like that. But no, I'm just fucking with you. So, okay, I think we should wrap up here. We're at 2.5 hours. Any final points or anything your chat wants to bitch at me about?
Yeah. You should revise 100% your video, your criticisms inside of your video, because literally
I will post this follow-up conversation. I will not revise the video.
You won't revise the video, even though even the errors that you know you made, like the schism versus heretical things, that you won't even revise that. You're just going to stand by bullshit?
No. I will. You know what I'll do? I'll pin the. Here's what I'll do. I'll post this entire conversation that you and I just had, where you had complete ability to clarify, and then I will pin that comment to the video, And I'll put a note in the description, and I'll even maybe put something in the title that says see follow-up or something like that. I'm not going to take down the video. And I know you aren't actually demanding that on my own channel I fucking take down the primary source of income. I made almost 700 cents off that.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that if you were interested in objective truth, that you would revise it so it was objective, but that's just me.
Well, but if I took it down, then if I took it down, I'd be like a coward, right? It's like, oh, well, he made these wrong criticisms, so he doesn't want people to see that he was wrong. So I'd rather post
that doesn't follow.
I think it does. I'd rather post this conversation.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like essentially you're standing by misinformation for the purpose of views.
That sounds fucking base to me.
Does it?
Okay. Last super chat here. Did your chat have anything to say?
Yeah, they have all sorts of super chats. So.
Okay. But I'm assuming you're gonna do that on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew gave a lot to think about. Well done, worth watching and thinking over. Well, this is why I said in the video, the conversations I have with Andrew do require me to think the most, more than most, probably. And I regard it as a valuable asset to hear in what ways Jordan Peterson could be wrong. Because the idea that Jordan Peterson could be wrong, I don't know, that's like telling a Destiny fan Destiny could be wrong. It just doesn't fucking compute. But anyway.
What do you mean it doesn't compute? Like, look, it's fine to have heroes, man. I have heroes. Okay, I have people I look up to.
I'm kidding, Andrew. I'm kidding.
But your heroes, it's hard. Your hero's dumb, dude.
That's why I said
he's a dumb fuck.
That's why I've made many videos. That's why I call him a Zionist shill. And I made a video saying why I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson anymore. Anyway, thank you, everyone.
Well, enjoy making cash off of absolute total lies.
You know what? It's not total lies. And how about this? I will. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. Are you going to debate Muhammad Hijab?
I have no idea yet. I was asked if I would. I said yes, but I haven't heard anything more about it.
I'll delete. No, I don't want to say I'll delete my channel. I'll delete that video, and I'll give you 3 more videos that you want me to delete too. If you get Muhammad Hijab to convert to Eastern Orthodoxy.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
But I'm not even asking you to delete the video. I'm just saying that maybe a follow-up of you saying, well, as it turns out, I kind of was full of shit about a lot of this, and
that's your interpretation.
And I'm kind of a dipshit. I really
I say all the time.
I really kind of fucked this whole thing up real bad.
Okay, I will meditate on it, and if I might come to that conclusion.
All right, no problem, dude. Thanks for having me on your show today, and thank you for allowing me to address.
Yeah, and thank you for being I was a good sport about it. That sounds condescending, but thank you for listening to the those are real objections I have. Thank you for going through them and talking about them, and I think that's helpful for everyone. So
what was I do have one last thing before I go. Okay. So what do I have to do to convince you to stop being a fucking dumbass centrist and get with the program so that we can actually take down what you consider the postmodernist threat?
You have to tell me why. You have to tell me why Eastern Orthodoxy is 100% correct and Catholicism is wrong.
Is that a centrist position that people tell you that you only can be 100% correct or you can take no action?
No, it's a centrist position if you're going to say that I have the problem of too many interpretations and not knowing which one is correct, you have to demonstrate that you can solve that problem within your worldview.
Yeah, but I demonstrated that.
No, you said go talk to a theologian.
No, that's particularism. So when it came to particulars, when you're asking these particular questions, I would talk to someone more knowledgeable about the particulars. But I demonstrated to you the distinction between objective versus subjective, and that within our worldview, it can be reconciled. Yours, it cannot.
As you pointed out, I'm borderline autistic, and so I must understand these particularities to really have a comprehensive worldview. So the particularism is what I would need to get into, which is why I love talking about phenomenal conservatism and all that.
Who brought you to phenomenal conservatism again?
That's my point. What you have done is demonstrated the necessity of understanding theology. Like you can't make a moral statement in the West at all without appealing, at least in principle, to Christian ethics. And you can't understand Christian ethics without understanding the theology underlying it. And that's probably the single most valuable thing that you've provided, is demonstrating the necessity of theology. And Lauren Chen, who doesn't know her theology, other than, well, the Bible's the thing. And I like Lauren Chen, but she just was like, well, the Bible is the ultimate authority. It's like, you don't even know how to begin to get to the theological roots of that. And so if particularism is what you're talking about, I need nobody loves particularism more than I do. Okay. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but you love particularism inside of these particulars due to mental masturbation, but the pragmatic side of you, you just want to see effects, right?
If I didn't like you, I'd be offended by that.
Yeah, but I mean, you just want to see effects ultimately. You just want to see good effects on society, right?
I mean, yeah, generally I'm all about.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the case, then what if I could demonstrate to you that an Orthodox society would have the greatest effect positive towards the worldview of outcomes you wish? Then
I would agree. Then I would be Eastern Orthodox.
If that's all I would have to do,
that would be a very tall order.
Then let us set up a debate on the demonstrable effects of any worldview you can come up with from a secular paradigm against
you. I want you to know I'll never debate you. Okay, I'll never debate Destiny either. I'm afraid of both. What? Well, you've already debated Destiny a bunch of times. Would you have a? Well, you debate Catholics, right, all the time?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't do generally theological debates.
Okay.
I do political debates, but thing is that this is a political issue. So the political issue from your worldview is this. You're saying, Andrew, what I want is the positive effects in society, and I don't give a fuck where they come from. I don't give a fuck as long as the society reflects closely with the worldview that I think is positive. What I'm saying is that I can literally Dillahunt your ass and show you that even if I adopt that entire worldview, that I can prove to you that Christian ethics does exactly that. And that under Orthodoxy, they're more effective than any other form. That I can do, Paul.
I want you to lovingly do this, not debate me. I want you to lovingly